so fine. She's the best girl that I ever had. Sometimes you're gonna make me feel so bad. Broke my heart, but I love her just the same now. Hush, hush. I thought I heard her calling my name now. Hush, hush. I need her loving and I'm not to blame now. You got her early in the morning. You got her late in the evening. Oh, well, I want and need it. Oh, I gotta have it. She got loving like quicksand. Only it took one touch of her hand. Blow my mind and I'm in so deep that I can't eat y'all and I can't sleep. Listen, hush, hush. Thought I heard her calling my name now. Hush, hush. She broke my heart, but I love her just the same now. Hush, hush. Thought I heard her calling my name now. Hush, hush. I need the loving and I'm not to blame now. You got her early in the morning. You got her late in the evening. Oh, I need it. Hey, I gotta have it.
Hello, John.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine, thank you. First of all, John, I'd like to thank you for being with us.
It's a great pleasure, a huge pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
When shall we start? I think in your childhood, did you grow up in a musical family?
Yes, my father was a semi-professional musician. He played in the evenings in a dance band, which he had begun during the Second World War. He was in the fire service, and he also started the fire service dance band. So I remember from quite an early age music being played in the house and so on. When I showed that I had some desire to play the piano, I suppose around 4 years old or 5 years old, he and my mother decided that I should take piano lessons. So I started around 5, maybe 6.
At what age you started make it professional?
Oh, I was 23, something like that. Mm-hmm. Before I became a professional musician, I left home and went down to London. I went to an acting school, a drama school. I was going to become an actor. Mm-hmm. When I left the drama school and realized that I was one of, many hundreds of young actors looking for just a few dozen acting jobs, I started to play the piano, to make a living, to be able to rent my apartment and eat. Mm-hmm. Very gradually I became aware that I was really enjoying this, that I've been a professional musician ever since. I never went into acting.
Ah, it's a good decision.
Well, it seems now with the benefit of hindsight that it was a good decision. Although you never know, the world might have been robbed of a really fantastic actor. We shall never know.
And which band you performed in the 60s?
I had a band called the Artwoods. The singer was Arthur Wood, the elder brother of Ronnie Wood.
Yeah.
We had this sort of rhythm and blues band. That was my first professional band.
You don't cry no more. Well, I'm begging you. You don't cry no more, girl. I say I'm begging you. Well, every tear you shed, show me that your love is true. You don't cry no more. Well, I'm telling you. You don't cry no more, girl. I say I'm telling you. Well, every tear you shed, show me that your love is true. Hey, cry me a river, you cry me a sea. You'll never leave without a doubt. You really, really, really love me. Cry me a river, you cry me a sea. You never leave without a doubt. You really, really, really love me. Don't cry no more. Well, I'm begging you. You don't cry no more, girl. I say I'm begging you. Well, every tear you shed, show me that your love is true. You don't cry no more. Cry no more, don't you cry. I'm on my knees, girl. I beg you, please, little girl. I don't wanna see you crying. I dry away your tears. I don't wanna see you cry. You're never gonna cry. I'm on my knees. I beg you, please, little girl. I don't wanna see you crying anymore. Wipe your eyes. Baby, don't cry. Yeah, baby, don't cry. Well, I'm on my knees. Yeah, I beg you, please, daddy girl. I don't want to see you crying anymore. Well, baby, don't cry. Come on, baby. We're never gonna cry. Wipe away your tears now. Oh, honey, don't you cry. Yeah, baby, don't cry. You're never gonna cry. On my knees, girl, I beg you, please. I don't want to see you crying no more. I never want to see you cry. Oh, baby, I'm on my knees. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. I beg you, please, let it go. Oh, I beg you, baby, don't you cry.
You remember this?
I most certainly do.
Gypsy woman told my mama before I was born, you got a boy child coming.
Wow.
Gonna
All
be a
those years ago,
son of
eh?
a gun. Gonna make all your pretty.
Goodness me, that's a leap back in time.
We can hear your organ playing.
Yeah, that recording was done on a very early, very simple, straightforward, very cheap Hammond organ. I think it was the first organ I owned. Well, the band owned it. We bought it together.
Uh-huh.
I'd started in the band, the Artwoods, on piano, but then we quickly decided that we'd heard some of the American blues recordings from Chicago where they were using a Hammond organ. And also I'd heard a wonderful organ player called Jimmy Smith, who was the king of the jazz Hammond. And that inspired me to want to play this instrument. And that's roughly what you just played, the Hoochie Coochie Man. That was among the first things we ever did.
Uh-huh. And in 1968, you founded Deep Purple. The first name was Roundabout.
Yeah, I had met a guy called Chris Curtis in the summer of 1967, and he was the drummer of a band called The Searchers, who had quite a few hits in England at the time.
Yes.
And he had this idea for a band called Roundabout. And the idea was that he would be the boss, I would be the keyboard player, and this guitarist that he had met called Richie Blackmore would be the guitarist, and everybody else would be hired on a day-to-day basis, and they would jump on and off of this roundabout as we needed them. Don't forget it was 1967, and these kind of ideas seemed quite normal. But he introduced me to Richie at the end of 67, and then he just disappeared. He went off into a kind of another world. He eventually ended up as a tax inspector, which a far cry from a musician. But that's how I met Richie, and we started the band at the beginning of 68.
Why did you change the name to Deep Purple?
Richie and I had decided that we didn't like the name Roundabout. It seemed a little bit strange. And there was a children's TV program called Magic Roundabout. We thought that might be a little confusing. So we decided to come up with another name, and we had a long list of names in the first few months, which we came up with. And it was only after we'd done 2 or 3 concerts in Denmark, of all places, we decided that we liked the name Deep Purple, and it stuck and stayed with us.
Because of the old song, Deep Purple?
It was Richie who came up with Deep Purple because it was his grandmother's favorite old song, yes. There was a version of it by Nino Tempo and April Stevens,
yes,
which was a huge hit in the late 50s or the early 60s. And his grandmother liked it very much. And that's just put the idea into Richie's head. The reason we also liked it is because it didn't actually mean anything. You know, it was just a color. We had some other names, which if we'd called them, they would have dated the band very quickly. But the great thing about the name Deep Purple is it doesn't date. You could imagine a band calling itself that now. So that was the reason we kept it.
And Rod Evans, the singer, brought Ian Pace?
Yes, he brought him along to an audition because Rod came to audition as the singer. He brought along Ian, saying that, you know, this is a young drummer, brilliant, who plays in my band. And Richie had already seen Ian Pace play with Rod Evans' band in Hamburg. So Richie was quite excited about that. So we auditioned Ian as well on the same day as we auditioned Rod, and we got our drummer. And he's, as you know, still there today. Yes,
and Hush was a huge hit in the States.
Yeah. By the end of, I think by November of that year, of 1968, it was top 5 in American charts.
Yes, and it's from your debut album. And the second one, The Book of Taliesin, you did, and I think in the first time, fusion with classic and rock group in Anthem.
Yes, we used a string quartet for the first time. It was nothing particularly new. I mean, bands had used string quartets before. Of course, the Beatles on several of their tracks, and then later full orchestras. And Denny Lane and the Moody Blues.
Moody Blues, yes.
From the Moody Blues, yeah. Say It's All Right. What was that track called? Say You Don't Mind, which, in 1967, which had a string quartet. So it was not particularly a new idea, but it was just something that I felt was quite right for that song. I think it was the first really good song that I managed to write, Anthem. I was the one I, became very pleased with.
When the night winds softly blow through my open window, then I start to remember the girl that brought me joy. Now the night winds softly blow sadness to tomorrow, bringing tears to eyes so tired, eyes I thought could cry no more. If the day would only come, then you might just appear, even though you'd soon be gone. When I reached out my hand, if I could see you, if only I could see you, to see if you're laughing or crying when the night winds softly blow. In my dark and whispering room, memories still bring me a numbness to my feelings. Take my hand and brush my brow. In the warm and fever dark, heart is madly beating. My crazy thoughts are whirling when the night winds softly blow. If the day would only come, then you might just appear, see you. If only I could see you, to see if you are laughing or crying when the night wind softly blows. If the day would only come, then you might just appear, even though you'd soon be gone. When I reached out my hand, I could see you. If only I could see you, to see if you are laughing or crying when the night wind softly blows.
Rod wrote the lyrics, or you wrote it together?
I think we wrote it together, yes. I had a very strong idea of what the song was about, and Rod helped me to make the words more singable. My problem is that I don't sing very well. I mean, I can sing in tune, but you wouldn't want to pay money to listen. So when I'm writing songs with lyrics, I need sometimes to ask a singer about the way you would sing a certain phrase, just to make sure that it's correct. I think that's the way Rod and I worked on that song.
And this song is number 10 in our rock chart, sharing the 10th position with While My Guitar Gently Weeps of the Beatles.
It's absolutely thrilling news for two reasons. One, because, as I say, it's the first song I wrote that I was really pleased with. But number two, George, who wrote While My Guitar Gently Weeps, was a dear, dear friend of mine. We were friends for many years.
You played in his last album?
Yes. Played quite a few bits and pieces for him over the last few years of his life. A dear, dear friend and a wonderful, wonderful man who was a very good friend to me. It's wonderful to be at number 10 with him. That's a compliment and an honor.
We moved to the third album. That three first albums, you did also many covers.
Yes.
Help and Hush is also a cover.
Yes,
and,
it's a cover, yeah.
Yes, and Hey Joe, and I'm
Yep.
So Glad, Kentucky Woman, and also Lelenia.
Absolutely, yeah.
People love it very much here in Israel, this version.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song anyway, and that's, I think, why we wanted to cover it. The thing about those first three albums is the band, and they were done very quickly, if you imagine, they were done in a year and a half, those first three albums. Because by the middle of 1969, we had already changed singers and bass player. And I don't think that the band, we were not too sure about what we wanted to be in that first year. We went from, really heavy stuff to really very quiet stuff like the cover of Help, and as you say, and as Lelenia. So we were really a band looking for our identity. Although I'm very proud of those first three albums, it wasn't until the album that followed that third album, the first album with Ian Gillan and Roger Glover, where I think the band truly found its proper identity in Deep Purple in rock.
Who suggested Lelenia?
Actually, that was my suggestion. I loved the song, and Rod had a very tuneful voice, a beautiful voice.
Yes.
It just, it turned out in the end that it wasn't the voice that could take us forward where I think Richie and I and Ian Pace wanted to go, but it was a very beautiful voice, and I loved that song. We were playing around with it one day in the rehearsal studio, and we just decided, yes, okay, let's record it, let's put it on the album.
When the sun goes to bed, that's the time you raise your head. That's your lot in life, Lelania. Can't blame ya, Lelania. Hearty-tot, la-di-da. Can your heart get much sadder? That's your lot in life, Lelania. Can't blame ya, oh Lelania. Run your hand through your hair, paint your face with despair. That's your lot in life, Lelania. Can't blame ya, oh Lelania. Run your hand through your hair, paint your face up with despair. That's your lot in life, Lelania. I can't blame ya, oh Lelania. Hey. goes to bed, that's the time you raise your head. That's your lot in life, Lelania. I can't blame ya, Lelania. Oh, Titsot, oh, so lordy-da. Can your part ever get much sadder? That's your lot in life, Lelania. I can't blame ya, oh Lelania, oh Lelania. No, 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 Lelania. I can't blame ya, I can't blame ya, Lelania. Oh, Lelania. So la-di-da.
Also in this album is a great tune called April, and it's divided to 3 parts.
Yeah. I suppose this is where half of my mind was at the time, this idea that maybe rock bands and classical musicians could play together with some sort of common feeling. And I had come up with the idea of this song, and Richie had come up with a piece for acoustic guitar. We played it together, acoustic guitar and organ, and it seemed to fit, that it would travel along its journey, this little tune, and then go into this other tune, this more rocky tune that I'd written. And I decided somewhere in the middle that we should have the transition. So we used some strings and some woodwind and a choir, I think. It was the first real attempt after Anthem to see if I could make this cross-genre music work. I have to say, it's been incredibly popular over the years with various people. I mean, now that I'm playing as a solo artist, I'm getting tremendous number of requests to play it, so maybe I'll have to learn it again.
So it's getting better every year.
Well, that's about the best thing you can say about any life. If it does that, then you're doing something right, I think.
Yes, and people here in Israel, it's a big surprise, and it's number 3 in our rock chart.
I am absolutely astounded and so happy for that. I mean, it's that people like that track enough. I mean, the track is over 40 years old, so it's rather wonderful for you guys to have picked up on it that way. Thank you so much.
It's still alive.
Yes. Well, I am too.
And the next project was with a new singer and new bass player, Ian Gillan and Roger Glover. You wanted to change something in the group.
Well, during the first part of 1969, Richie and Ian Pace and myself, we became aware that Rod and Nick, great musicians as they were, they didn't seem to be traveling along quite the same path that we were. That's how it appeared at the time, and we were just talking between the three of us about whether we should therefore stop or whether we should try to find the right singer and so on. Richie was talking about it with a friend of his, a drummer called Mick Underwood, who played in a band called Episode 6. Mm-hmm. Richie had known Mick Underwood for some years, and Mick said to him, well, look, you know, the singer in our band is incredible. He has this amazing range, and he's a great-looking guy, and, you know, and I know that he's thinking of leaving us. So it was very unselfish of him to suggest the name Ian Gillan to Richie. So Richie came to me and said, do you want to go and see this guy? So Richie and Ian Pace and myself, we went up to a club in North London to watch this band playing, and there was this guy with this astounding voice, great-looking guy, long hair, and, you know, handsome man with this astonishing voice. And the decision was pretty much made there.
Mm-hmm. Ian and Roger.
Yes. The thing was, you know, when we were talking to Ian Gillan about this, he said, well, you know, the problem is, and I would love to join the band, but my best friend in the world is Roger Glover. You know, and do you need a new bass player? And we said, well, actually, we do. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, I'll ask him. And actually, Roger said no at first because he felt obliged to remain in Episode 6, but thank goodness he changed his mind. But, you know, Ian Gillan and Roger Glover, they'd been writing songs together for a couple of years, so they were like songwriting partners. And so we didn't just get a singer and a bass player, we got a couple of songwriters too. So I think that was the turning point in the history of the band.
And Ian and Roger thought that they are getting to a rock group.
Yes, I think they were both feeling that the confines of a pop band, which is what Episode 6 were too narrow for them. And they felt that with the spirit of the time, you know, the zeitgeist, they felt that they wanted to move into a heavier kind of music. That's what we began talking about together when they first joined, and really very quickly we started writing material that was much heavier, but still tuneful. I think that's what I liked about that in rock. We began to write this material that was, as we were able to see later, was define the band.
Mm-hmm. And while rehearsing Speed King and Child in Time, you had other ambitions that was performed in the Albert Hall in 24 of September 1969. It was a combination between rock group and Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yes, it was. I had this bee in my bonnet, this idea, you know, for some years about the combination of rock group and orchestra. And as we've discussed, you know, I made small attempts at it with Anthem and again with April. Mm-hmm. But I had spoken to my manager sometime in the beginning of 69, and I said, like, I have this idea of a concerto that I'm writing for group and orchestra, and if we can ever think about doing it, it would be great. And he took me seriously, thank goodness. He actually moved very quickly to book the Albert Hall and to book the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. I went to the rest of the guys in the band and said, look, I'm writing this. Would you like to play it? Shall we do it together? And they said yes. And in a way, it was a wonderful thing because it caused an enormous storm of controversy in England at the time. Some people in the rock side of the world didn't like it. Others did. Some members of the classical world hated it and others didn't. So it was a point of great discussion. And so really the name Deep Purple, it was a marvelous publicity for our new band. And then when we came out with the real Deep Purple, which was in rock, the audience was aware of who we were. And so we had our first major success as a rock band in the UK because of that album.
Uh-huh. First we will hear a part of this orchestra and a group.
Can I see to me as your heart would have you do. Books on my head cannot get the message through. Sword in my hand can cut through the wood. Peace in my heart can soften the mood.
I think in the same evening you performed Child in Time.
Yes, we did. We had written it probably somewhere in, I would think, July of '69. We had been in our regular place of rehearsal at the time, and the way we wrote most of our material at the time, the way we got to know each other, because remember Ian Gillan and Roger had just joined, the way we got to know each other was by jamming together, by improvising and seeing what we would come up with. There was a music by an American band called It's a Beautiful Day, and the piece of music was called Bombay Calling. And we had heard it when we were in America the year before, and I was just messing around with it, playing it much, much slower to see what would happen with it. And Richie said, I like that, let's work on that. So we began to jam on it, to improvise on those chords. And Ian started this amazing, first the low ooh, and then the higher ah, and then that final scream, he just started building up and up. And we said, oh, that's wonderful, let's write something around that. And very quickly, I think within a couple of hours, we had the song Child in Time. We started playing it live in the clubs and universities and small halls that we were playing at the time, and it was getting an amazing reaction. So that's why we performed it at the Albert Hall.
Before the album In Rock went out.
The Albert Hall went out almost immediately after it, and it was quite confusing for people, really, actually, because suddenly there was this orchestra album there.
Sweet child in time, you'll see the line that's drawn between good and bad. See the blind man shooting at the world, bullets flying, taking toll. If you've been bad, Lord, I bet you have, and you've not been hit by flying lead, you'd better close your eyes, oh Lord, bow your head, wait for the ricochet.
version was that?
From the Albert Hall.
Ah, right. Okay, fantastic. Good. And then just a few weeks later, in fact,
Yes.
there was In Rock, was this full-on hard rock album and it was quite confusing at first, but I think we very quickly made people aware of what the band was about. I mean, my enjoyment with orchestras has continued from that day, from before that time, from when I was a young boy. I loved orchestral music. When I first heard rock and roll when I was a teenager, of course I was massively attracted, and it spun my head around, but I didn't stop loving orchestral music. So I think what has probably defined me over these many years as a musician is my love for both kinds of music. And now I'm no longer in Deep Purple, and I'm writing a lot more orchestral music now as I get older. It seems to be what I want to do now for the rest of my days.
Yes, I know that your last album entered the top 20 classical album.
Yes, it did. And I'm, really thrilled about that. This has been a wonderful time for me these last few years after leaving Purple, because it's now, I think, 8 years nearly. It was a terrifying decision to make, to leave something that I had loved so much. I was a founder member, it was my band, if you like. I felt like it was my band. And I had been inside this very protective situation of being in a major band for many years and a band that was still working after 30-odd years. And it was a big leap of faith to jump out of that comfort zone and into the cold, wide world on my own. Since then, I have had the most wonderful time writing my music. So I don't feel I made the wrong decision. I feel I made exactly the right decision. And I'm so pleased that Deep Purple are still touring and still going on. I think it's wonderful that they're still doing it after all these years.
Yes, I saw Deep Purple here in Israel 2 years ago.
Right? Yeah. My only visit to Israel was back in the early 90s.
Yes, without Ian.
Yes, it was with Joe Lynn Turner, yeah.
Yes.
Not one of my favorite episodes of Deep Purple, I have to say.
Child in Time is number 1 in the rock charts here in Israel.
That is absolutely astounding. It's wonderful. I have to say, it's a very powerful song. And I think it's a very simple message, but it's very powerful, the way it builds and I think what it's trying to say is very powerful. And I think it says perhaps even more in these days than it said in 1969. It's one of those songs that I play it in my solo shows now. I play shows with orchestras, and I have a great English singer called Steve Balsamo who can sing Child in Time. Not many singers can sing it.
Yes.
When I play it in places like Russia recently, and the reaction was astonishing, because this song was banned in Russia in the 70s. And I've played it in Romania and in Bulgaria and Hungary and Czechoslovakia and Poland, where the song was banned because of its anti-war, anti-superpower stance. What it's saying is just very simple. It says, wait for the ricochet, You better close your eyes, you better bow your head. Be careful. And then that great screaming climax, which is an astounding piece of singing. Wonderful song. I love it. I'm very, very, very proud of it.
I think the most popular album is Machine Head. We know Smoke on the Water, Highway Star, and one of them also is Lazy.
Yeah.
What can you say about this song?
We wanted to write another shuffle. It's a dotted rhythm rock, which we'd used before in an instrumental called Ring That Neck, which we'd done in the first band, which we still played pretty much everywhere. And we decided we needed a new one, and one that would incorporate the vocals and the harmonica, which Ian Gillan also played. So when we were rehearsing and songwriting for our next album, which at the time ended up being called Machine Head, Richie and I said we need a new one of these, a new one of those shuffle songs. And I think Richie came up with the basic idea, da-da-da-dee-da-dum. Very quickly, we turned it into a song. And Ian Gillan, I think, just improvised the lyrics at the time, and I think he kept them. I don't know who he's singing about. I don't think he's singing about himself. But I think he's singing about a friend of his. And it very quickly became a big concert favorite.
So I play you the show in Osaka. Do you remember the 29th of June, 1973?
That would be Ian's last performance in Japan.
Drowning in
Happy Memories.
Yes, it was a sad show.
Yes, it was a sad show, but Happy Memories of the music.
Yes.
It was a sad show because it was also Roger's last show.
Yes.
Because after that, Roger and I left Japan together. We went to Tahiti to try and cheer him up. He was very sad. So we went to Tahiti and sat on a beach and drank a lot of beer for a few days.
Saraband, the album that you made in 1975.
Yes. Now, this was as a result of meeting a German conductor-composer called Eberhard Schöner. We had become friends in 74. I had performed with his orchestra, which was a Munich orchestra, a couple of times, and we talked the same language. We had the same ideas about crossing barriers between different kinds of music. Not so much barriers between different kinds of music, but different kinds of musicians, because the barriers exist in the musicians' musicians' minds. The barriers don't exist in music itself, if you see what I mean. And so it was a question of changing hearts and minds. And I wanted to write something that would be quite immediate, that would be tuneful and would make it easy for people to understand what I was trying to say. And the result was the Saraband Suite.
A year before, after Ian and Roger left the band, and you found David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes.
Yes.
Instead of them.
Yes. Again, I was not convinced immediately that when Ian wanted to leave, when Ian Gillan decided to leave, I wasn't convinced that we should carry on. But the management were very convinced that we should carry on. And again, Richie and Ian Pace and myself sat down and talked, said, okay, let's look again. And we found Coverdale he'd sent a tape of himself singing to the office when he'd heard that Ian Gillan was leaving. We listened to hundreds of tapes, some absolutely terrible, and some just really average. But this one was wonderful. It was Coverdale singing a Harry Nilsson song called Everybody's Talking, which was from the movie Midnight Cowboy, I think.
Yes.
And he'd done this really kind of soulful version of it. So we asked him down for an audition, and he came down and proved to be excellent.
He also sang Bang Bang very good.
Yes, he did. Yes. No, he's a great singer. He had a very powerful voice, much more bluesy than Ian Gillan, and maybe not quite the range that Ian Gillan had. And a very different way of looking at singing. It was quite difficult to deal with at first. I was and still am a huge Ian Gillan fan. I love what he's done in Deep Purple. I like his voice, I like his songwriting. You know, his lyrics I think are interesting and unusual and sometimes extremely funny. And I wasn't sure that David was the right replacement, but he was very, very good, so off we went. And David very quickly, much to his credit, took on the role of the singer of Deep Purple very, very well indeed.
And the first project with David and Glenn was Windows?
Yeah, I mean, I was already working on Towards Windows. I'd been asked to do it by Eberhard Schöner, who had been asked by this German television company. They wanted a piece of music for a gala concert, and they wanted to mix rock musicians and an orchestra. And they had heard of my experiments in that area, so they asked me and Eberhard to produce something. And it had to be done so quickly. And it's very strange music. Some of it is a little weird. It was intended to be visual as much as anything else. And I never knew that it was going to be recorded and released. I was told that afterwards. I personally not have released it, but I needed to find some musicians very, very quickly. So I asked my friend Tony Ashton, I asked Ray Fennick, who I knew, and of course I asked David and Glenn, because they'd just joined Purple, if they would like to come and sing with an orchestra. And they said, you know, sure, why not? So that's how they became involved. I think at the same time, almost at the same time, we were working towards recording Burn.
Yes. It's very similar to 16, 9 and 70.
In a way it is, isn't it? Yes, it has a resonance somehow. You know, it's like the rest of the band saying, oh, there's John again, off with his orchestras. And, you know, but I got used to them making fun of me.
And that Windows was long before Bill Gates.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it was. Maybe I should talk to Bill Gates about giving me some money.
This is from the Gemini Suite. Glenn singing.
Yep. Yeah, that's the vocal movement from the Gemini Suite, which I'd used in the middle of Windows mainly because, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't have time to write anything new. I think the whole Windows project was done in about 3 or 4 weeks. It was just incredibly high pressure. When it was done, it went out on the Eurovision television link. It went out to 26 million people watched it live, you know, so it was kind of a very, very high pressure project. And if you look at the pictures, you know, the still pictures from the night, you know, you can see me looking like I hadn't had any sleep for 5 days. I look as though I hadn't eaten for a week. I look really stressed. And it wasn't surprising. You know, it was a very, very stressful, but ultimately incredibly successful evening. I mean, the reviews, in the German press the next day were astonishing.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you, John, what is your favorite track from Coverdale singing in Purple or in Whitesnake?
In Purple, I think one of the greatest is Sail Away.
From Bern.
A track called Sail Away from Bern. I think I really like what he does with that. I would have to say that's my favorite of what David does.
The future you're
in 1984 you had a reunion of Deep Purple.
Yes, thank God. Yes, I got a phone call from Ian Gillan in 1983, summer of 1983, saying, how you doing? I haven't spoken to you for ages. Do you want to come and have dinner? And I thought, yeah, sure. And we lived reasonably close to each other, a few miles away. So we went to dinner, and he said, what do you think about putting the band back together? I said, can it happen? And he said, well, I've spoken to Richie, and Richie would love to. And I thought, well, if Ian Gillan and Richie had agreed, then we stood a good chance.
Yeah.
Because they were not, by then, the best of friends. But,
yes.
But, they both thought it was a good idea. And I thought it was a marvelous idea because I had been in Whitesnake by then for 3 or 4 years, and I was quite tired of it. And I had actually, early in 83, I had actually given my notice to David that I wanted to leave. And he said, why? And I said, well, I have no control over the music. I have no real participation in the music. I'm just a hired keyboard player. And that's really not how I saw my life progressing. I had already left, I think, in the April of 1983. I think my last concert was in Stockholm. Just a few weeks later, I was talking to Ian Gillan about reforming Purple. So that was a wonderful and marvelous coincidence.
Yes, and you had massive success also in the 80s. in the 90s, I think at the end of the 90s, exactly 30 years later, I think the same date, 24th
Yep.
September?
When we did the concerto again.
Yes.
Yes, in fact, the first rehearsal was the 24th, and we started rehearsing on the stage at the Albert Hall at exactly the same time we had played the concerto on that stage 30 years before, so that was a wonderful feeling. That was with the wonderful Steve Morse, who by then had been in the band, I think, for 4 years by then.
He replaced Richie.
Richie left in 94, I think,
Yes.
or maybe 93, after playing with Joe Satriani for a while, who was going to join, but then realized that he had to make 2 more solo albums that he had taken the money for but hadn't given the music. So he had to go back to the studio, and we wanted to continue. I think it was Roger Glover who said, look, we should go and check out Steve Morse. So we did, and asked him to come and play with us.
He's a great guitar player and also a very nice person.
He's a delightful man. In those years between 95, whenever it was, Steve joined, and 2002 when I left, I had 7 or 8 of the most wonderful years playing with a guitarist. I have to say that playing with Richie was a challenge. Sometimes Richie is close to genius, and other times he would be quite erratic. And sometimes Steve is not inspired. He's brilliant, but not inspired. But then other nights he's absolutely inspired. So 2 very, very different guitarists, totally different in the way they look at the guitar. I'm incredibly lucky to have played with 2 such fantastic guitarists. But in those last years of my time in Deep Purple, I had the most wonderful time playing with Steve. Really, really wonderful.
So as you said, in 2002, you left the band. A year later, you perform, I think, most of the time in Australia with the Hoochie Coochie Men.
Yep, that was the first time. I did 3 or 4 concerts with them, including one in a wonderful club in Sydney called The Basement, where we recorded a live set with the Hoochie Coochie Men and me and a great singer called Jimmy Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
I had been in Australia, that was in 2003. I was there for luckily, about 2.5 months. It was wonderful. Mm. And I played my concerto for group and orchestra with an Australian band called George. Played 3 nights at the Sydney Opera House and over in Perth. It was in Brisbane. And also I had the premiere of a piano concerto that I'd written called Boom of the Tingling Strings, and that was premiered also in 2003 in Australia. So it was quite a busy time in Australia. I had a marvelous time.
And also you went back to your roots, like in the Outwood.
Absolutely. You know, there's still one of the most glorious things is just to play the blues on the Hammond with a great guitarist and a good bass player and drummer. You know, it's just so much enjoyment for me. Right back to the roots. I'm doing it again later this year. I'm going to play in Germany. I'm playing a blues festival with Peter York on drums, Miller Anderson on guitar and vocals, Maggie Bell on vocals, and Colin Hodgkins on bass. Zoot Money on second keyboards. So, you know, I still love playing that kind of music. It's so refreshing and, you know, so joyful to make that kind of music.
And the one that we will hear from the Australia show is the one called You Need Love. It's a Willie Dixon.
It's a Willie Dixon song,
Willie Dixon. And maybe we should call it You Need Horror to Love.
Yes, because it sounds a little bit like it.
Way down inside.
That's right, yeah. I think that's pretty much where... There's a story that Ronnie Wood came up with the idea for what became Whole Lotta Love. And then he played it to Jimmy Page, who then played it to Robert, and they worked it into their original Whole Lotta Love, which they have admitted the debt that it owes to Willie Dixon, and I think quite rightly so.
I think they wrote his name in the last years.
In the last years they did, yes.
Yes, and also we have a special program with the influences of Zeppelin, like Dazed and Confused of Jake Holmes. And
yep. You know, everybody, that's the wonderful thing about music. Music doesn't begin in a vacuum. When you're young, it begins with the influences that you have. It's what you take with you on the journey as you go. And then as you get older and you start to make your own use of those influences, and then you, in your own turn, influence other young musicians. So it's a cyclic thing, popular music, indeed all music. That's the wonderful thing about it, this ongoing thing of one thing influencing another.
So you say that Ron Wood suggested this riff of guitar?
That's the story I heard, yeah. And I heard it quite a few years ago, and I have no reason to disbelieve it, because Ronnie had a band quite early. I think he played with the Yardbirds for a while, or a couple of guys from the Yardbirds. So I think the connection is there. I think it was when he was playing with Jeff Beck. So, you know, it's all part of one thing.
Got burning, baby, I got yearning, and you look so sweet and kind, baby, way down inside. Woman, you need love. Woman, you need love. You got to have some love. I gotta give you some love. So nice, so nice. So nice, so nice. You are fretting, baby, I am betting. A lot of good things you ain't getting, baby, way down inside. Woman, you need love. Oh, baby, you need love. You gotta have some love. I gotta give you some love. So nice, so nice. So nice, so nice. So nice, so nice. So nice, so nice, yeah. cooling. And honey, you know you need cooling. Way down inside, woman, you need love. Baby, you need love. Got to give you some love, baby. Baby, you need love. I got to give you some love. So nice, so nice. So nice, so nice. So nice, so nice. So nice, so nice. You need a whole lot of love. You need a whole lot of love. You need a whole lot of love. You need a whole mess of love. You need a whole lot of love. You need a whole lot of love.
Next one that we will hear is from the album Beyond the Notes. I think it's a big surprise that Frida was singing The Sun Will Shine Again.
Well, she and I had become friends around 1998, 99.
Mm-hmm.
I had met her many years before, but, just for a few minutes, when Deep Purple and ABBA were in the same hotel somewhere.
Uh-huh.
But this was many years later in 99. And we were in a ski resort in Switzerland called Zermatt, which is where Frida has a home. And we became friends, and we talked about music quite a lot, and she and my wife became very close friends. In fact, for a while, Frida came to live with us when she was deciding whether or not to come and live in England. She came to stay with us to make up our mind. So we became very close. And Frida had a lot of difficult times in her life at this point. There was a lot of disappointments, a couple of tragedies in her life that she would tell you about if she wanted to. But, I came up with this idea for a song. I had a title, The Sun Will Shine Again. Played her the tune. I said, do you like that? And she said, oh, yeah. She said, I like the title because it's a hopeful title. It's not all bad. The sun must shine again. You have to believe that. And so I took it to Sam Brown, and I told her my ideas for the song, and she came up with those lyrics. And then Frida recorded it for us on Beyond the Notes, and that was absolutely wonderful. I was so charged up for her to do that. That was a wonderful thing to do.
Watching over my every move. Still I am here alone. Uncried tears, they will only fuel my fears. Now it seems they're falling, and I feel release and inner peace, and realize that that blossoms now, you will know that you can be your own best friend. The sun will shine again. Only you can know how unraveled you'd become. Hold on tight and let it go. The sun will shine again.
You were a guest in Gillan's album, Gillan's Inn, and you played When a Blind Man Cries with a real blind man, Jeff Healey.
Jeff Healey, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, marvelous player. You know, on Gillan's Inn, I know Ian wanted to take another look at a couple of his, big Purple favorites, with other people playing. And so it was great to revisit that particular track, which is, again, that's one of my favorite Ian Gillan tracks. I think it's a wonderful song, and I think the words are terrific, really wonderful words.
And it's in number 30 here in our rock chart.
We are blessed with you guys. Thank you.
It's a great, great version.
If you're leaving, close the door. I'm not expecting people anymore. Hear me grieving, lying on the floor. Whether I'm drunk or dead, I'm really not too sure. I'm a
Yeah, good version.
Yeah. Just another song before we talk again about your last album. I think another version of Hoochie Coochie Man 2 years ago with Ian Gillan singing over and over.
That's right. That was a request from the Hoochie Coochie Men down in Australia, which is Bob Daisley is the bass player and this wonderful guitarist called Tim Gaze, who's kind of like the Australian Eric Clapton. He's a terrific player. They said, would you like to do another album? And I said, well, I can't get down to Australia. I'm too busy. So they said, well, we'll come up to you. So it came up to London and we did the tracks in Olympia. I think most of the tracks were recorded in Australia. Then we came up and did some of the more tracks and some overdubs in Olympia Studio in Barnes in London, the famous Olympic. I co-wrote a couple of the pieces. I think Over and Over was one that I had hand in. But I think it's a great song. I think it's a very clever song. Bob came up with the idea, Bob Daisley. It's really terrific.
Take me into the light, lay me down in the sun, just imagine you and me being one. Lady, don't fade away. Though it's only a dream, we may find things aren't always what they seem. Will you come my way again? Now you've gone back into the night, gone away, nowhere in sight. So here and now, don't know why or how you will come to the sun greets the dawn. Say the word until the end of my days. I'll be here for you. So here and now, don't know why or how you will come to me, and that's why I call your name over and over again. I call your name over and over again. I call your name over again. I call your name over and over and over and over again. I call your name.
I'm happy to know, John, that your last album had a great success and entered the top 20, the classic albums. It's called To Notice Such Things.
Yes, it's just come out. It's the third one I've done since I left the band. One was the Piano Concerto album, Boom with His Tingling Strings. One called the Durham Concerto, which I released a couple of years ago. And then this one, I wrote it last year in memory of a friend of mine who had passed away, a well-known writer in this country, a writer and a playwright and a novelist. He was a barrister, a famous barrister called John Mortimer. We'd become friends at the end of the 90s, and we were terrifically good buddies until the day he died. This is written in his memory. I'm very, very happy that it celebrates the life of such a wonderful man. I'm also very happy that people here in England seem to have taken a liking to it.
John, I want to thank you for this interview.
It's been a real pleasure. I have to say, it's difficult sometimes to talk at such a long distance from such a long way away, and I really hope that one day soon I can come and show you what I do now down there in Israel and perhaps talk face to face.
I'm sure it will be very interesting.
Let's hope that it happens.
Thank you very much, John.
My pleasure.
And I wish you a big success in your new album and many happy years.
Thank you, and thank you for some wonderful questions and some lovely stuff. Look forward to seeing you face to face one day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao, my friend.
Bye-bye.
God bless.